Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode here on African Confessions. The following story that you're going to be listening to, it comes from a translation of a message that I received. In the translation of that message, it reads like this. Hello, Brother Nashi, how are you? Can you please post my own story as hidden identity? I am a Zimbabwean woman who is currently staying here in Australia. I have come here because I need advice and I need help from your listeners because of some of the things that have been happening in our family. So the story, it goes on like in our family. What happened was that my grandmother, she was a nurse, and my father, he was a doctor. They migrated from Zim, and then they went to South Africa. And when they were in South Africa, my grandfather and my grandmother, they then started a small business which made them to be multimillionaires. Some of the things I really do not know what happened after, but they started to sacrifice people. They were using people in rituals that they were doing. So whenever they will do these rituals, the people that they were using, they would go around in different townships there in South Africa selling brooms, selling rakes, but they made millions out of selling brooms as well as selling rakes. These people that would go around with the brooms on bicycles, selling some blankets in the townships, they were not like real people. They were like zombies that they had made them into. They did not sleep. They ate no food. They could walk for many kilometers per day without resting. And all that they would require from my grandparents was just blood here and there. They were supposed to sacrifice the blood of a woman, especially if that woman, she was a mentally ill woman when she was on her period. Then they would take that woman and they would take her blood and they would give it to these zombies that they had created. They made so much money out of nothing. They made so much money, and when they were making all of this money, their relatives back home in Zim, they were suffering from the spirit of poverty and other things that they were suffering from because of the rituals that my grandparents had done. So when my grandparents passed away, they left everything in my auntie's hands. We have an auntie of ours who is a multimillionaire. She stays there in South Africa. I don't know if she is still continuing with the business or not, but we heard that all the zombies that had been created by our grandparents, they were left with her so that she can manage the business. Brother Nashi, there are people out there that are multimillionaires, even though they are multimillionaires, but if you ask them like what type of a company do they run, you will be shocked that they just run these small companies, but out of that small company they will be making so much money, so much that you won't even understand how is it that they are making money. Like in my grandparents' case, as I told you that my grandparents, they were making money because of selling brooms. Can you become a millionaire just by selling brooms and by selling some blankets in the townships? Growing up, even when we were still in South Africa, the rule in our home was that we never helped anyone that was in need. Like if you would come to our house, even if you were starving to death, we were told to never dish out a plate of food to anyone that was in need of that food. But what we used to do is that my parents, even my grandparents, they would donate money to churches. They would donate money to some organizations that did not even need any donations. Instead of donating the money to some orphans, rather my grandparents, they would donate this money to organizations there in South Africa that were being run by people that have money. And this was the rule that we knew: never assist someone, only assist the person that you know you want to use later on in life. So my grandparents, this is how they ended up doing those rituals. It was said that my grandfather, he had this other woman that he was dating there in South Africa. Since he was a doctor, this woman, she wanted to use the advantage that since you have impregnated me, I am going to be claiming for maintenance after I would have given birth. My grandfather then, he took that woman. After he had taken that woman, that was when he gave her some medication, forcing her to have a miscarriage. This woman, she found out that this was what had happened, and she started fighting with my grandfather. My grandfather, it was said that he hired some people that ended up killing that woman, and this woman's spirit kept on waking up and disturbing my grandfather, such that there was a time when we were told that my grandfather was running mad. They went to a traditional healer. This traditional healer then told my grandfather that since he had been involved in the killing of that woman, in order for him to live a peaceful life, he was going to be given some charms. My grandfather then was given some charms, and these charms that he was given, later on, it was said that he started to see a little baby, which was a tokoloshi that will always follow him behind. He returned back to that traditional healer. When he returned back to that traditional healer, he was then told by the healer that this tokoloshi, it survived on blood. If he really wanted freedom and peace, he was supposed to feed it with chicken blood. He started by feeding it chicken blood, but it quickly escalated from chicken blood to human blood. He started sacrificing his relatives back home. And when he saw that this Toholoshi kept on coming back, he was then told that in order for this Toholoshi to be pleased, because it is doing all of this work, because he had been told to start a very small business because he was going to be making money. My grandfather was told to start a business even though he was a doctor. He was supposed to start a small business in which people would be shocked that a doctor is selling brooms and some rakes in the location and blankets. How so? My grandfather was then told that he was supposed to create some zombies from some of the people that he was going to sacrifice. He then agreed, and they went to that traditional healer where they were given charms. They were told that they were supposed to look for a maid and they were supposed to look for a gardener who was going to be working for them. So each and every time when they wanted to create a new zombie, they would just go into the streets and pick up a maid, pick up a gardener. These people would work for them maybe for about 3 to 4 months. Then after 4 months, then that person will just start to get sick, and within a couple of days, the person will die. So my grandmother used to put some herbs in the food that she would cook for the maid as well as for the gardener, and eventually all of these charms will become so toxic in that person's body, and then the person will just die. And after the death of that person, my grandparents, they will donate so much money to the families of the person that would have died to buy the coffins, everything that is needed. So we were told that most of these people that it made to become zombies, these people, they were from Zim. Those that were as desperate as most of the people that are from Zim are, just to get a job in South Africa. And after they had killed so many people, then they started to use them in their business. My father told me that they had about 10 zombies at one time that used to go to different townships in South Africa, especially in Gauteng. Every day, each and every zombie would come and collect some brooms and some rakes, and that person would go and sell them, and they would always return back with the brooms having been sold. We were told by my parents that even though they were just selling brooms and rakes, each and every day when they would come and cash in, they would even cash in money that was more than the money that small supermarkets can make in a day in profit. And my grandparents were having so much profit because some of these brooms, those African brooms, like, you do not have to buy a lot of material to make them. At the back of the house where they were staying, even though it was in the suburbs, they had a small workshop. So in this workshop, That is where they would make those African sweeping brooms by cutting out the tubes of the tires, and they would go out with these zombies, leave them in the forest so that they can cut the tall grass. And when they would have finished cutting the tall grass, they would go there with a small truck. They would go and collect the grass, and they would return back home with the grass, and they will put it at the back of the mansion. It was a big mansion, but there was a workshop which was at the back of the mansion. And these zombies, they did not sleep. At night, throughout the night, they would be working non-stop, because my parents told me that these zombies would return back from the location every day, maybe at around 6. Then from 6 until the next morning at around 6 again, they would be working, chopping the grass, making the rakes, and as well as making the African sweeping brooms. Then 6 o'clock, everyone will take whatever that they were supposed to be given on that day, and they would go. When they wanted blood, my grandparents would then go into Joburg CBD, look for a woman who was a mad woman, even those women, those that are drug addicts. Then they will take that woman. My grandfather, it was said that he would say that he wants to sleep with that woman, give her money, but he would put some charms either in the tea that they would prepare for her or in the juice that they were going to give to him. The moment that she will drink the tea or the juice, she will start to bleed heavily. She will have this heavy bleeding, so much that my grandparents will get as much blood as they wanted. This woman, after she would have been bleeding maybe 5 liters, you can imagine that you are a drug addicted woman. Then these people, they use charms on you, and you lose about 5 liters of blood. What do you think is going to happen to you? Obviously, you're going to die. You're not going to survive that. So this woman, after they would have taken her blood, they would then go and drop her off. My grandparents were said that they used to drive out of Gauteng. When they will see that they are outside of Gauteng, they will then drop off that woman. Within a couple of days, that woman, if she did not find any help, she will keep on bleeding, even bleeding to death. So since most of these women that they were using, they were drug addicts, they would not go to the clinic, or even the mad women, they would not even understand what was wrong with their bodies. All that they would see is the blood that kept on coming out. The 5 liters of blood that they would have taken from this woman, they would then feed it to the zombies until that person would have died. The zombies would be following that woman spiritually, licking off her private parts now and again, making sure that they finish her off. So after they would have drank the blood of that woman, they would go for a very long time without ever requiring to be fed on blood again, until when they would have gone hungry, and then they would request more blood. So this business model that my grandparents had, they were running at a profit. They did not have a loss at all. My grandparents were told that they were never supposed to venture into any business whatsoever. They were never supposed to invest in anything. The business that they had was going to sustain them. My parents, they went to universities in South Africa. We also grew up in South Africa, but we came here to Australia. When we came here, the problems were already starting in the family, because growing up, as for me, when I was fast asleep, I would always see a man that would come into my room. This man, he would sleep with me when I was so tired, but the moment that I would wake up and see that there is someone that has been sleeping with me, when I would open my eyes, I would see that there would be a man that will be getting ready to leave my spare bedroom. This kept on happening, and I started going on my periods when I was still very young. My mother told me that I started going on my periods when I was only 9 years old. So it was really odd for a young girl at 9 years to start to be going on your periods. We then came to Australia. I struggled to fall in love. There were two men that I was dating, but one after the other, they all passed away from what I really do not understand. So the issue that has brought me here is that we are being told that we are supposed to return back to South Africa to find the families, some of the families of the women that were used by my grandparents, those that were killed. Their spirits, they are crying out to God that we are supposed to suffer. And the spirits are crying out to God, saying that my grandfather's seed is supposed to be wiped off from the face of the earth. Unless if we return back to South Africa to start to search for these women, how are we going to do that? Where are we going to start? I have no idea. I spoke with my brothers, and my brothers, they are unwilling to do anything. They say that if this is what God has decided, that our family is going to be wiped off from the face of the earth, then who are we to fight against God? But I feel so much pain for my family. All that I wanted was for our family to progress in life. All that I wanted was for our family to be a great family. Since my grandfather, he was a doctor already, and my grandmother was a nurse. So they were supposed to become our stepping stone in life, but rather they destroyed their own generation because they just wanted money, quick money, even though they had good jobs in South Africa. Coming here, it is because it's not only the spirits of these people that were killed by my grandfather that are troubling us as a family, but it is also our own relatives back in Zim. They have been going to different traditional healers. All the charms that were used by our grandfather, they are doing go back to senders. There are times when I am beaten by things that I do not know, especially when it is at night. All of a sudden, I see some hands that will just pop out of nowhere. These hands that will pop out of nowhere, they will come to me and they will start to hit me so bad, so much that I will have a swollen face. There was one time when I was driving from work. I was busy driving. It was somewhere around past 9 in the evening. That was when I saw 3 human hands that were joined together. These 3 human hands, they held on to the steering wheel, and there was a truck that was coming from the opposite direction. I saw the steering wheel as it was being steered into the direction of the oncoming truck. The last thing that I know I did was that I just screamed, Jesus, Jesus, Jesus Christ, please help me. That is the last thing that I remember. I woke up, Brother Nashim. There was a time when I was told that I was going to be using a wheelchair for the rest of my life because of the way that I had been hurt. My car, when that truck driver tried to avoid me, then my car went underneath the trailer, but I missed the last wheel of the trailer at the back. That was my saving grace, and my car was dragged by the trailer. And I was so much hurt. I stayed in the hospital for many, many months. I would sleep in and out of the coma. When I would be in a coma, I would always see dead people that would come to me. These dead people would say that they have come to collect my soul, and their case has been brought before the throne of God, and the throne of God had accepted that they should come and take my soul. So when they would stretch out their hands towards me, then I'll scream and say, Jesus, Jesus, please help me. I did not hurt anyone. Please help me. Then I'll see a shining bright light and I would slide out of the coma. This kept on happening. So here I am. We are a family that is living a very comfortable life. But once you have these deals with demons, you are only comfortable financially, but spiritually, physically, your life will become hell. Our life is like a living nightmare. I still have my auntie that is there in South Africa. She still controls these zombies that sell here, sweeping brooms, the rakes. Dear listeners, right there was a message that was sent to me by one of our dear sister. Let us try to speak with her in the comment section. Strange things indeed they do. happen in this world. Can you just imagine? I have posted an episode there on Transa Play. If you are on Android, update your Transa Play if you have not yet done so, and you can listen to that confession. More is going to come. We are going to release a version where you will be able to post your own content as well. Let us try to grow that platform. Let us meet again in the following episode.